keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the show. We're going to be talking about Jimmy Garoppolo, of course, because of everything, the fallout with Baker Mayfield headed to Carolina, Alex. It brings up a lot more questions about Jimmy G. Could it have made it easier now? The 49ers have a more defined place where they can send Jimmy G to Cleveland, as some people have been saying, including John Chapman. Or are the 49ers going to have to release Jimmy Garoppolo? Or could it be what some people have been pitching? Jimmy Garoppolo could actually be a member of the San Francisco 49ers in 2022.
All of those things are plausible. All of them are doable. And chat, make sure you're dropping down below right now what you're thinking and what you're feeling on this, because the reality in the end game here is that San Francisco is going to be making a decision on Jimmy sooner rather than later now at this point. I know it feels like we've been saying this for a long time. It feels like a lot of people have been thinking it for a long time, man. But with Baker Mayfield being moved, and really the only domino left to fall now be Jimmy Garoppolo and his health, as soon as that happens, something is going to happen. A decision will be made. The question will just be, is it a decision to keep Jimmy around? Is it a decision to let Jimmy go? Or is it a decision to trade Jimmy somewhere else? The likely spot, I agree with you, is Cleveland. They have a very uncomfortable situation there at the quarterback position, and they don't know what they're going to be doing. You move off of Baker because that bridge was not only burned, it was nuked into orbit. Baker Mayfield wanted no part of there being a bridge back to fixing that relationship and being the quarterback going forward, which means they're going to need an option, because it's looking like every day Deshaun Watson's done for at least this season. The suspension would go through this year and would be a full year, which is fine for Cleveland because they only owe him $1 million, but they still got to do something at that quarterback spot. They're also able to free up about $10 million with this trade to the Carolina Panthers. So they get about $10 million. I think it's 9.5 actually. They get off the books because that's what Carolina is eating salary-wise for them. Yeah,
that was an interesting trade. I mean, you're only getting a fifth round, pick, and even that is conditional. I think that was interesting. It was a 2024 pick too, not even a recent or a new pick. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Jimmy Garoppolo. If this is kind of the baseline, then that means that the 49ers would have to eat some of the salary. And at what point do the 49ers look at it and just go to Jimmy Garoppolo and say, hey, there may not be a starting position for you out there. And this is one of the things that I talked to with Lou. Lou had commented and asked a question about Jimmy Garoppolo and said, at what point does Jimmy go to, the organization and say, hey, I'll take less money to stay because there's not that money out there for me. I think when it comes down to it, that could happen, but it has to happen this way. Number one, Jimmy Garoppolo has to feel there's not an option for him to be a starter out there in the league. As long as there is an option for him to start, I think that's his best role. That's his best move. Not the money, but the actual job of getting a starter. And then I think the 49ers have to look at it and look back and say to themselves, like, at what point does the money make sense for us? Yeah. What kind of savings are you going to have? So I think the 49ers are looking at this, still waiting, hoping they're going to get a trade. But I wonder how much money they'd actually be willing to eat. At what point is the money different, from the trade value? At what point is the money worth more than the actual fifth round conditional pick?
I don't know when the Niners are going to feel like that. But the reality is at some point in time, right, that what you could get back in return and what you could get, not just in cap space, but in terms of, future potential, future picks, future players, whatever that may be, that has to start weighing on San Francisco, because at some point in time, they have to feel like this situation with Jimmy and Trey isn't necessarily beneficial for the locker room or beneficial for either of the individual players. It's a lot of drama to have to deal with that. It's a lot of questions that need to be answered, a lot of distractions. And how is that going to impact and affect the 49ers going into the season and going into camp and going into week one if he's still around? I don't know. I can't answer that question. It does seem like they weathered the storm just fine last year. Yeah. There didn't seem to be many issues or problems with it. They were all back and behind Jimmy Garoppolo. But that was because Jimmy was the incumbent. You had a rookie who hadn't played a lot of football. This feels different this year. This guy has had a year to develop. It feels like the coaching staff is behind him. The players are behind him. The team is behind him. But then you throw in Jimmy Garoppolo, who's taken them to the promised land. He's gotten them to a Super Bowl. He's gotten them back to an NFC Championship game. He's been a part of that process of getting to a Super Bowl, getting yourself back after a tumultuous 2020 season. Will they just all be on board with that, or do you have to actually let him have a run and have an opportunity at the job in order to quell any sort of dissent or possible dissent that may grow from it? I don't know. It seems like a lot, but Ronnie's saying it doesn't matter because Jimmy's going to the Giants, and he believes
that
the Giants are a landing spot. You know what? They would be. I think they're a dark horse that not a lot of people are considering.
Yeah, I think the Giants have been someone we've kind of mentioned off and on, as we went through this process, because Daniel Jones is not the overall answer there. So I get what Ronnie's saying. It could be Jimmy Garoppolo there, but they would have to decide that they're willing to make that move and then pay that money. I think when it comes down to it, a lot of it's about money for Jimmy G. And, the kind of the things that you were saying about Jimmy G and the locker room, I think it would take the Jimmy G going ahead and taking a little bit of a pay cut to signal to the team that, hey, I'm realized now that I'm the backup quarterback. I think that move alone, cutting back on the amount of money that he's going to be making would signal to the locker room, okay, I understand my role. I'm going to come in here and back up Trey Lance. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo wants that role. I don't think that's what he wants to do. I know he wants to be a starting quarterback in this league, and he's looking for the right opportunity. And I think if it was Cleveland or if it was New York, he'd be interested in going to those places. But are they interested in him, and for what price? Jacoby Brissett's in Cleveland. They have him. I don't think they want to go into the season with just Jacoby Brissett. And Jimmy Garoppolo's already proven that he can beat out Jacoby Brissett when they were on the same team. So I don't think Jacoby Brissett's a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo, but Jacoby Brissett might be a way for Cleveland to kind of take a step back. They might fold this thing a little bit early with Brissett at quarterback instead of risking and paying a lot of money for Jimmy Garoppolo.
It is possible, and it's definitely possible. It could happen. We'll see. We'll see if they pull the trigger early or if they decide to wait. And even if they do decide to wait, San Francisco can hold on and wait also if they'd like to. They don't have to necessarily move off that money. Now, moving off the money would be nice. Freeing up that $25 million would be great for San Francisco, be great for the Niners. It starts to answer questions and things for next year and allows you to potentially roll some money into next year as well if you're able to keep all of that cash and that dough. But you can do that all the way up until the trade deadline. In theory, in theory, you can. You can move it all the way up to there. Now, you won't be keeping the whole 25 at that point because there'll be money you will have paid out to Jimmy Garoppolo by that point of the season. So you will end up saving something. It won't be $25 million. Let's just cut it down the middle in half and say half the season is done roughly. You're going to keep about half the money, which means you're going to keep about, $12.5 million. That's still $12.5 million that you can make a move with or just roll into next season and have that cap space there saved on additionally. So, look, I'm not sure what the Niners want to do. I know that they're not in a rush, in a shocking kind of event, and they haven't been in a rush this entire time in this whole situation. But the door is now open. For the first time in a long time, it feels like, possibly since the opening weeks of free agency and the season ending and the actual 2021 campaign ending, it does now feel like the door is officially opened for San Francisco to actually do something with Jimmy should they choose. The only question is, are the Niners still stubborn about what they want in return for Jimmy Garoppolo? Because if that is the case, that may put a kibosh on this whole thing.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan wants to get something back. He does want to get something back for Jimmy Garoppolo because he knows the value of Jimmy Garoppolo to his football team. With Jimmy Garoppolo as a quarterback, the 49ers have proven they can go to the NFC Championship game. They can get to a Super Bowl. They're a one play away from winning a Super Bowl. That's what Jimmy Garoppolo can do for your team. It's not because of Jimmy Garoppolo, but it's kind of an effect of that. And right now where we're meeting is that point we thought we were getting with free agency, where you have Jimmy Garoppolo's health meeting his availability, and somebody coming to get him. And we're at that point again. He's about to get healthy. He's about to be able to start throwing the football. And when that happens, these teams are going to be interested in picking him up. Somebody's going to call, but what are they going to offer? Cleveland might come in with just an absolute low ball offer, and the 49ers have to decide, is it worth it? Is it worth us eating the big amount of his salary, to move him along for a little, for a couple picks, maybe it's a fourth round pick or whatever it is, but it's not what we were all talking about early on in March. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be the high picks. We're going to get something lower, and we just have to understand that, we have to be happy on that and happy with that. And I seen earlier, Paul was saying, he thinks that it's actually the 49ers faithful, that are the ones that are more interested in trading Jimmy Garoppolo than anyone else.
It might be the case, Paul. You might not be wrong about that. The reality is that 49ers fans want the drama at the quarterback position to be done. They want a decision.
Do you think they actually want it to be done, or 100%. They just want Jimmy Garoppolo gone?
The faithful want the situation to be done. I think they would love it to be. I think most people have now come around to this idea and this notion that you drafted Trey where you drafted him. He is the future quarterback.
Right.
So let's just move Jimmy. Right. I don't have to talk about this anymore. I don't have to think about it anymore. Trey's the starting quarterback. Jimmy's not there. There are people who are still, in the pro Jimmy camp, and believe that if Jimmy's healthy and gets an opportunity, he could be QB1. I don't know if I'm there with you, only because I haven't seen a healthy Jimmy Garoppolo and I haven't seen this version of Trey Lance yet, so I can't give you anything. But here's what I can tell you. If it looks anything like last training camp at all, in any way, shape, or form, then Jimmy's got the heads up. He's got the edge. Is it going to look like that? There's no way. There's no way that Trey has basically stayed exactly the same. It's not possible.
Yeah, and Mr. Corey saying if Watson is suspended for the entire season, the 49ers aren't getting squat for him. Yeah, I think that's, what it really comes down to is Deshaun Watson has put a big kibosh in a lot of the things that have happened with the quarterbacks. I mean, that's the reason Matt Ryan got moved to the Colts.
True.
I mean, Deshaun Watson has been a thorn in everyone's side when it comes to him being moved and then everything that happened. Not to mention him getting guaranteed money completely shakes up the entire NFL moving forward. So Deshaun Watson has been the biggest interesting move according to what's happening in the NFL free agency and then trade. So it's going to affect 49ers somehow. It's going to affect Jimmy Garoppolo somehow. We'll see what the fallout is. I mean, Jimmy G, I think he's still going to get moved, but I think it's less likely now that he gets traded than ever before.
You think it's less likely?
I think it's less likely he gets traded. I think the 49ers might have to come to grips with the fact they might need to release him at some point.
Well, I wanted to actually bring this up to you because I've been looking at stats and looking at numbers of Jimmy, and you look at the things he's done. You look at someone like Mayfield, who you just got a fifth for. Most amount of yards thrown for in a season, 3,800. That was his second year in the league. Jimmy Garoppolo sitting right in that same area, around that 3,900 mark. Now, granted, it's been a little more sporadic, but not a lot of health seasons in there. Whereas Baker has played a good chunk of his games. Now, he has played through injury during those seasons as well, which has kind of moved his stat numbers around. Do you think if San Francisco were to get an offer for a fifth round, like a conditional fifth round pick, that they wouldn't take something like that? And do you think a team would offer that?
No, I think they would take that. It just depends on how much money they're going to have to eat.
Okay, fair.
You know what I mean? Because if a team like Cleveland comes through and says, hey, we want you to eat $15 million of his contract, I don't think the 49ers really want to do that. That means they're only getting a net savings of, $10 million?
True.
That's not what they're looking to do. Not when you could turn around and release him and free up that entire salary, and you're getting a fifth-round pick in 2024. How much value is that fifth-round pick in 2024 going to be compared to being able to have that money to re-sign Nick Bosa?
True.
I think value-wise, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do that. I think if you could come up with some sort of an agreement where both, where the 49ers were willing to eat a little bit, but Jimmy was willing to eat a little bit too, I think in that area, you could probably free up more cap space. So if Jimmy Baker Mayfield was willing to eat close to $3 million to be able to get moved to Carolina, if Jimmy Garoppolo was willing to do $5-6 million, maybe the numbers would be closer.
Well, I think the reality too is the only reason he eats $3 million in that situation is because Cleveland took what they took, right? They ate what they ate. They ate, $10 million or so of that contract. Carolina takes about $9 million, and he's like, all right, I'll take another 3 off. We can take another 3 off and call it a day. It's all good for you guys. You end up paying pretty cheap amount of money for a starting quarterback this year in the league, and I don't have to be in Cleveland anymore. I don't know if Jimmy has that kind of negative relationship with San Francisco, so you might have a situation where maybe he was willing to take a little bit more off the top or work on a restructured contract or deal with the new team in order to bring that number down this year and make sure he's still getting his money long term, like what he was supposed to make this year. He's getting it over the course of a few seasons and still getting a little bit on the side as well. I don't know. I don't know if that's something he would consider and do. You would imagine that he would want to. It's if the choices are backup quarterback in the league, or take a pay cut and make sure that you can be a starting quarterback for at least the next year, you would think he'd be the starter, right? You do what you got to do to stay a starting quarterback and stay relevant in the league. Yeah,
I think he would. I do think he would take a pay cut in that situation. Just how much are they going to be willing to give up? You know what I mean? How much willing is the other team going to be willing to give up to get Jimmy Garoppolo? And it could be like Mr. Corey said, maybe Garoppolo just wants to be released. That way he can go choose where he wants to go play.
Dangerous proposition.
It is, because there's not that many options out there, right? I mean, you could end up in Seattle. You'd be in a quarterback competition there. You could, of course, go ahead.
I think it's a quarterback competition in Seattle if Jimmy G goes there.
No, I mean, I'm saying they got a quarterback competition going now.
Oh, it's not a great one.
No, I mean,
it's not a great one.
You got Drew Lock and Geno Smith, and one episode I called him Geno Atkins. That's about it.
It's the basic way to say
it. So I think it's one of those things that's where Jimmy ends up is going to be a big thing, and I don't know where it's going to be, and I think it's continued to stay the same course, where we thought it was going to happen, and once it didn't happen, there's really been no answers. Just Jimmy Garoppolo continually, having to work on his health, and then now that we're getting to the point where he's going to be healthy, I think it makes sense. I just think every single time it seems like we're coming to resolution with Jimmy Garoppolo, another move happens to go ahead and change the direction of Jimmy Garoppolo's course in the league.
It's very true, and it's an odd situation. Ronnie Montoya said, what about the Steelers or Saints? Neither team. Neither team would be a viable option, barring a training camp for both teams' quarterbacks that is atrociously bad. If both Pickett's and Trubisky are absolutely god-awful in Steelers training camp, then you could see them get desperate enough. The problem is that in a situation like that, they're going to need to send one of those two quarterbacks to San Francisco in order to get salary off the books in order to make it make sense and make it work for both teams. If some sort of setback were to happen with Jameis with the Saints, then maybe you could see that. But as of right now, all signs point to him being healthy and good to go.
Yeah, I think the Saints would make the most sense out of the other two. I think Pittsburgh is locked in with Trubisky and Pickett. I don't think they're making a move for a quarterback. I think Ronnie had it right the first time. I think the Giants are just a dark horse team to keep an eye on. We know that some insiders have come out and said there was a lot of interest in Jimmy Garoppolo, and that there'll still be interest once he's proven that he can throw the football again. So maybe there will be interest, but we're going to see.
Atlanta too. You can't count out Atlanta. It's Mariota we're talking about here. It's Marcus Mariota, and it's not coming fresh out of college Marcus Mariota. This is beaten and battered Marcus Mariota, and who hasn't been a starting quarterback in the league since he destroyed his shoulder with the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, Mariota, I mean, you forget about that one. You just wonder if Atlanta, it's just kind of the same thing. Atlanta, are they willing to go ahead and take on that salary when they're entirely rebuilding?
They are.
You might not be willing to take on that money, but you're right, as far as like a quarterback at a high level, he's not one where Jimmy Garoppolo is better for sure.
No, that's for sure. Forktail, I'm not against a Trey and Jimmy G competition. Whoever is the best plays, and we have the best backup in the league on the other hand. Win-win, in my opinion. You wouldn't be wrong. It would be a win-win situation for San Francisco. But for Trey Lance, that is not a win-win situation. For Jimmy Garoppolo, it is not a win-win situation. It's a win for one of them and a big fat L for the other. For Trey, that could be an L and a diminishing in confidence. For Jimmy, it could be an L, losing that job, and then not being able to get out of San Francisco or get another job going forward. It is a risk for both guys. It's not necessarily a win-win for the individual player. And if it's not a win-win for the player, trying to get a guy to buy into this idea of, hey, you're just going to sit here and be here. At this stage, at the NFL level, that is very hard to get professional athletes to do.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think the whole thing is, in fact, if it was a battle in camp, I think it would be fun. It'd be fun for all the fans to be able to go and watch these two guys.
So much content.
Go duke it out. You're right. There'd be a lot of stuff to talk about because once again, we'd have the spreadsheet out, going ahead and going over all the numbers. It would be fun. I just, you brought up about Trey Lance's psyche. I don't think it would actually affect Trey himself. But at some point, right, that pressure has to mount a little bit as continually every single day the media says the same things.
When is Trey? When is it Trey's time? When is it Trey's time? When is it? It's just going to boil over at some point. He's a human being. He's a human being. Yeah. He's a young guy who's got the weight of the world on his shoulders already. He understands what this franchise is, the direction it's going, what he's being brought in to eventually be and to lead. And if he doesn't get the job in year 2, when all signs were pointing to him being the guy, that those questions, the doubt, everything starts to creep in, and maybe it doesn't affect him like in terms of his mental, his psyche, his confidence level, but his patience, 100% going to weigh on the patience because every day, every week, every game, pre, post, whatever, the question will be asked.
Yeah, you're right. And Candy R has a question for you.
Oh, boy.
When is Troy Apke going to join Trent Williams in the 99 club?
No idea. Never.
How big was that, though? I know this is a little off. We'll go off just a little bit for a second off the Jimmy G, but Trent Williams is going to be a 99 overall in Madden. He's the first offensive lineman in the history of the NFL to be 99 in Madden.
Which is a shame because there's a few other guys that should have gotten those credentials, and there's a handful of other linemen that I can think of that should have gotten those credentials, but good on Madden for finally deciding to make someone a 99. He is drastically, severely underrated in Madden.
Yeah.
Severely underrated.
Well, I think now it makes sense, right? This is a little John Madden year. So it has to be offensive lineman ranked 99. I like that.
About time they did something right. Well, let's see if they actually can figure out offensive lineman AI, Ant.
Oh, don't bet on it.
I'm going to press X to doubt right now.
No,
Chad.
a lot of those people had to focus on the cover. So
and they didn't even get that right. Still, my favorite was they showed off the new gameplay and the new features of guys coming down in space and breaking on routes, and they're showing a cover 2 corner sitting in cover 2 zone, breaking on a flat route and picking it off. When the running back runs a literal flat route and then just starts running straight up the field right into the zone coverage. Like, that's not... The AI it's still broken.
They're not football guys.
It's still broken, guys. This isn't impressive defensive coverage. This is horrible offense.
Yeah, the problem is football guys don't make the game. That's the problem.
That's accurate. That's just like Ronnie 2K making NBA 2K, and he's not really a basketball guy. Anyone seen that guy shoot? It's pretty bad. It's worse than Drake in the Kentucky layup line. I can tell you.
Oh,
that.
wow.
Big Papa here. If we release him, Jimmy G, that is, do we get a 3rd round comp pick?
No, we do not. If we release him, we do not get a comp pick. If he was to start and play for us, we would definitely get a 3rd round comp pick, but I don't think that's in the cards.
True. This is true. Ronnie says if Jimmy wants to get cut, he won't get anywhere close to his contract now, though. That is correct. He won't.
Yeah, he won't get that money now. And the thing is I mean, I guess if he's about money, he'd want to stay with the 49ers under his current contract.
Regardless of whether you start or not.
Yeah, if he's more about being a starter and thinking that he can bet on himself to get even more money next year in a big contract, then he's going to want to go out there and see where he can get a starting job and go out there and play at a high level.
That's true. This is very true. Brad Jones sub, boys miss a start, but I've been thinking since March, Jimmy ends up with the Browns because we know Watson is going to be done and gone for the year. It is a possibility. It could happen. All signs and all things would lead you to believe that, but the Niners need to pull the trigger on it. Brad saying also that Atlanta can't afford Jimmy. As of right now, you wouldn't be wrong, but there are ways around this. We saw the Saints cut $88 million over the cap in a matter of weeks. So I mean, Atlanta can figure out how to make this work.
There's always a way to make it work. I just don't think that they're going to be willing. I think that they could be tanking. I think that they're going to go in there and just hope Marcus Mariota is able to play at a high level. And if he does, great. If he doesn't, oh well, we'll see what we can get in the draft next year. I don't think they're actually in for Jimmy Garoppolo, but I mean, every time you have a quarterback situation where Jimmy's a better player than the guy there, you have to at least consider it.
It's true. Bolivar saying Trey needs consistent reps with the first team O. Jimmy would be a distraction. Look, as of right now, Jimmy's not going to probably be ready by I would say day 1 to go full go with the team, which means that first week and a half, I believe, is going to be all Trey with the first team O. That's great. That's his opportunity to separate himself. If Jimmy is still on the roster past that week and a half and is cleared and comes back to San Francisco, they will be splitting reps and there will be a competition. There has to be. You have to give Jimmy a shake and a chance at it. You're not just going to say, well, Trey's had a good week and a half and sorry, Jimmy, later. Unless you plan to cut him.
Yeah, or maybe there's something we haven't considered at all. What if Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to be healthy in time and he starts the season on the PUP list?
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? I mean, you're not freeing up that salary,
sure.
But Jimmy Garoppolo might not take up a roster spot in that situation. You delay it a little bit, and then you activate him in time to trade him. If somebody has an injury or something, maybe that is something in the cards. I don't know what Jimmy's health is going to be. I just figure at some point when he passes his physical, that will be when the 49ers can actually move him, whether that is a trade, release, or what we saw with Dee Ford, nothing. Because that's what they've done with Dee Ford. Absolutely nothing. He's just sitting there. So we have no resolution on what's going to happen with Dee Ford this year.
Are we going to get a resolution? Is this? I mean, because it would have made sense post June 1st if they were actually going to cut him just to move on.
Yeah,
and just be done with this. The fact that they haven't. So, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have just been fibbing about Dee Ford. They don't see a way for him to be here, be around it. They haven't moved off him. They haven't just let it go. They're not walking away from this.
Yeah, it depends on how much they value that $1 million this year and $2 million next year. If they don't have a tremendous value for it, they can hold on to him. I mean, at least through training camp, or if he's not healthy, you could put him on the PUP. I mean, what's the worst thing that happens? At some point during the year, you have an injury and you're like, oh, Dee Ford, you're healthy now, right? Come on and play. I honestly don't know. It's one of the strangest things because it seemed like Kyle Shanahan was completely saying we don't see Dee Ford as a member of this roster, and that was right after I think it was during mini camps. And he was going to come in for a physical the next week, and then he came with the physical. Apparently, they never reported it, and no resolution. I don't know. I'm lost.
So that physical either looked horrible, and they can't make a decision because injuries and reasons and how much money they would owe him, or it was amazing and they were blown away by it and they're just waiting to see. I don't know. But Caleb, up in the membership for 11 months, Trey is going to start singing Cena's song to Jimmy. Your time is up, my time is now. You can't see me, my time is now.
Well played, KNDR. Well played.
He's the franchise boy. He's shining now. Good stuff, Caleb. That was absolutely glorious. Big Papa, looking forward to Mr. Bosa planting the flag in Carolina. That is exciting.
Yeah, I do like that Baker Mayfield is going to be on the schedule for the 49ers. Sure. I thought Nick Bosa took it personal last time, and I'm curious to see what he does against Baker Mayfield. Nothing about Baker Mayfield scares me, more than Sam Darnold. Would I rather win against Sam Darnold? Sure. But Baker Mayfield's not exactly scary either. True. So I think that the 49ers still have an opportunity to win that game, so that didn't really change anything much. The one thing I did see a funny meme was Christian McCaffrey tore his ACL after reading Baker Mayfield had signed with the Carolina Panthers, or got traded to the Carolina Panthers.
Yikes. Yikes. Solid meme. But big yikes big yikes there for Mr. McCaffrey. Mr. Corey, Garoppolo and Dee Ford are like Michael Myers and Jason to us. In that order. So Garoppolo is a mask-wearing, deep-breathing stalker, and Dee Ford carries around a machete and a hockey mask.
I don't know. I like to think of my Garoppolo more of the Michael Myers as in like the actor, the comedic actor.
Austin Powers?
Yeah. I mean, why not? He was a sexy man.
Dude, he's international man of mystery.
He had that mojo,
Mr. DJ Garoppolo does have the mojo.
Yeah.
But what would Dee Ford be then? Because Jason, I don't see the comparison there, Mr. Corey. What would Dee Ford be to us then?
Yeah. I think, yeah. It's an interesting comment from Mr. Corey. I know I like where he was going with it, but I just like my Michael Myers a little bit better.
Just a different Michael Myers.
Yeah.
It's a different one. Has Trey developed touch yet? Look, I don't think you can know one way or the other yet in terms of whether touch is developed. Also, by touch, do you mean deep balls? Do you mean intermediate? Do you mean short? There's a lot of different areas in which touch is prevalent.
I think he means whipping it, on those underneath routes. So he was kind of smoking them.
He's always going to whip it.
I think he is going to whip it. I just think that he will be able to take a little bit off and not throw it as hard once he understands where the receiver is going to be. Right now, he sees the receiver come open, and he's got to absolutely whip it to get it there, and there's some tight windows. Jimmy Garoppolo had the quicker release, so he was able to do the same thing. He just got it out quicker. So Trey has to whip it to make up that time, and I think it will happen. The more he has an understanding of this offense, he'll be able to play with anticipation, and then, you'll see the velocity slow down on some throws. I still think some of them, you're right, he's going to just absolutely whip it.
I anticipate more whipping than anything else. Look, I think I can't stand the whippets. Look, I get it, Farmer. I understand it. Not a lot of people can like that, and there are certain times I definitely don't love it. I'm not a fan of it. But you know what I don't see? I don't see whippets on the deep throws. I see touch. I see beautiful ball placement. And in all honesty, that's where he needs it the most, is those kind of passes, because it's the one thing Kaepernick lacked in his throwing game and his repertoire with his arsenal. He had a cannon of an arm, but he did not have touch on deep balls. And even though he could throw that thing deep downfield, there were times where if he could just place the ball slightly better, we'd have bigger plays. And he just couldn't do it. Trey can. Trey can do those things already.
Yeah, Trey's touch on the deep pass is fantastic.
Phenomenal.
It's phenomenal. Ronnie says, do the 49ers only carry 5 wideouts to take on an extra lineman on the D-line or the O-line?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Makes sense.
If I did the roster breakdown and I literally had them keeping 9 offensive linemen for the mere fact that you don't have to keep 6 wide receivers. I think the only reason they kept 6 last year was Jalen Hurd. You know what I mean? I think they kept 6 last year because of Jalen Hurd. They wanted to give him the opportunity. Once he wasn't, they moved on. But I think they've also gotten special teams players in other areas. So it's one of those things that I think the Niners will keep 5, 9 offensive linemen, 11 defensive linemen.
Can see it.
Alex, I think that there's a lot of really good defensive linemen, though, and I think the Niners are going to have a lot of edge rushers.
This is very, very true. So look, someone had asked this. Brad Jones, was Robbie Anderson's tweet real after he found out about the Baker trade? So this is a little bit of misinformation because he did not tweet after Baker Mayfield was traded. However, he did tweet when Baker Mayfield was first rumored to come to Cleveland, in which he tweeted, "No." So the tweet is real. He really did tweet no about not wanting Baker in Cleveland, but it was not after the trade occurred. It was a few months before it happened.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. So Robbie Anderson definitely said it. He just said it 2 months before the trade actually happened.
This is true.
He's
back in April.
I did watch him talking to the media a little bit. He did not look excited about that.
No, I mean, I don't have an issue with Baker. Stop trying to paint a narrative. So I do love it. I do love it. I love also that he tweeted his answer with a response as well. So there you go.
I would also everyone was watching the Baker Mayfield commercials, right?
It's true.
Can we get one now where he's moving?
Oh, 100%.
Please,
I need a
move?
I need a moving one. I need him moving into the Carolina Stadium.
Yeah.
It would be even better if Robbie Anderson were living in the stadium and Baker's like moving in with him to play off this. It'd be great. Get on top of this.
Can they do you got a new roommate? And he goes, no.
That would be even better. That would stick it. First off, it would stick it to all the media, which would be great. But then just the storylines coming off of that would be absolutely glorious. A great one here. Dee Ford going to be like Jason to the opposing offense this season. That would be great one. That would be great. If that Dee Ford is healthy and could be slashing up opposing offenses and sacking the quarterback all over the place, I'm all good. I'm all good with that.
What would your ranking be from 1 to 10 that we see Dee Ford actually make it to training camp?
0.25. And ready to go on day one?
Oh,
0.25.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the 49ers got a little bit of stuff to do here in the next couple of weeks. I'm interested to see what ends up happening with Dee Ford.
I don't know, man. If they cut him right before training camp starts, I'll be even more miffed by this whole situation.
I mean, if they do cut him, I realistically think he ends up with like Los Angeles or one of these bona fide teams that can go get it done. So
100%.
I don't want to see him as a Ram. Our luck, he would be healthy. Yeah.
He 100% would. He definitely would. That would just be sad. The meaning correlation is that every time you think they're gone, they're back. Okay,
that makes sense.
That makes more sense.
So you need to add Dante Johnson to that list.
Dante Johnson.
Jordan Matthews.
100%. So Dante Johnson is Freddy Krueger. He's a Nightmare on Elm Street. He's a dream, right? He's a figment of your imagination. Who was the other one you just said?
Jordan Matthews.
Jordan Matthews, 100%. What would Jordan Matthews be, though?
I don't know. He's just a nice guy, though.
He is a nice guy. Is he Ghostface?
Maybe he's just Mr. Rogers.
What's your favorite position to play on the football field?
I think he's just Mr. Rogers. Won't you be my neighbor?
Won't you be my neighbor? I like that one. I absolutely like that one. Oh, and then there's that arm fatigue, but we don't have to worry about.
Yeah, did you see that this is a thing again? I mean,
again a thing?
Yeah, Colin Cowherd was saying it. Also, Michael Silver.
What is Cowherd's deal, by the way, with Trey?
I don't know.
Is it because Trey was dating his daughter and he just like he's hot and cold?
There's rumors about that, but Michael Silver's saying it now too. He's saying that the actual now he's kind of saying I believe is that the 49ers changing Trey's arm motion is actually what is causing the arm fatigue. Alex is speechless right now. The arm fatigue thing is interesting to me. I think that if he was getting arm fatigue, I think Trey Lance would change his arm motion back.
I don't understand how people come up with this stuff and there's people that buy it. And that would be
if he really is having arm fatigue,
he's gonna throw away. It doesn't cause the arm fatigue.
Yeah, well maybe that's why Jimmy Garoppolo's still a 49er. Arm fatigue.
How come there are no articles about Jimmy and arm fatigue? His shoulder surgery, Aunt. He's gonna have arm fatigue. He hasn't been doing anything with his arm other than standing and filming Subway commercials.
He's probably gonna be like rookie of the year. He's gonna be able to throw the deep ball.
What
now.
if he can?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, what the F is arm fatigue? Well, look, arm fatigue would just be like, you're essentially it'd be like throwing out your arm, throwing out your shoulder. You're throwing so much, the angles change that your arm is sore. You can't get it up. You can't get the motion that you want. Like all of those things. There's just one problem. Like there's no documented like evidence of this being number one an issue for Trey, and number two, now that people are saying it's because of the change in the arm angle. then he's just going to not do that.
Yeah, I mean,
and then not have arm fatigue.
How many throws do they think he's making?
I mean,
you know what I mean? Like how many throws is he actually making? The arm fatigue thing makes no sense to me.
Dude, he's not throwing 100 pitches. It's not like a 125 pitch game, dude. It's
Hey, Itchy 95 says, I think we're all getting Trey Lance rumor fatigue.
I am rumor fatigue.
Yeah,
Itchy.
I'll be honest. I can't wait, Itchy, until the end of the month.
Jimmy G will have arthritis. Arthritis from Ronnie Montoya.
Okay, that was very. We've had back-to-back tremendous.
Solid. I have Garoppolo and McGlinchey fatigue. Glinch-teague? He's got Glinch-teague over there, Mr. Corey with the Glinch-teague.
Wow.
I'm not surprised by the Glinch-teague, honestly.
That was well played by all three right there.
That was just glorious, man. It really does. Trey needs to slow down on the whippets, and then he won't have arm fatigue, Ant, says Bomber T. He won't have the arm fatigue.
I mean, I think he whips it because that's what he needs to do right now. I think it's going to change, you know. I don't think a guy would be continually able to throw those fastballs as somebody that's pitched before and had arm fatigue. You can't exactly whip it that hard if your arm is fatigued.
True. It's true. Colin Cowherd put that report out on Trey. Trey broke up with his daughter. Yikes. Yikes.
Yeah.
Well, to each their own. And he probably told him, you break my daughter's heart and I'll ruin your career.
Good luck with that. Because at some point, somebody's going to look bad, right?
Somebody.
And I'm thinking that the way Trey Lance is approaching the game and he's being with Kyle Shanahan and this team with the talent that they have, I think that Trey Lance is going to have himself one big year.
We should have brought Jay Hill on. He's a Colin Cowherd connoisseur. That's all he does is listen to the Cowherd.
Yeah, we could have. We're probably going to fatigue all the way to a Super Bowl. So I would like that.
I'm all for fatiguing to a Super Bowl. Fatiguing to a Super Bowl would be great. We're talking military fatigues, right? We're going to military fatigue to the Super Bowl. We're not talking about actual arm fatigue anymore. We've totally changed.
Yeah, and we've been talking about Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance for the last, pretty much almost 40 minutes. If you have anything else, any other questions, full Q&A, let us know. Any other questions? I mean, we've had some here and there, but I just want to let everyone know, you don't have to stay on this topic.
No.
You can go anywhere 49ers.
It's true. It's true. Colin Cowherd thought oh, no. Oh, okay. Gonna get arm fatigue spending Trey's money. Okay.
Oh.
I'm glad that Mr. Corey went there, Ant. Because that could have gone in a not good direction there. Michael Humphrey, Colin Cowherd equals Nick Wright.
Ooh.
Oh my.
That's well done.
Oh my.
That's a shot right there. Well done, Michael.
That is 100%
well done.
A shot. Big yikes for Cowherd and for Nick Wright.
Yeah.
I can't believe there's not more people who've made Colin Cowherd as a coward jokes. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. It's just sitting there. It's a low-hanging fruit. Maybe that's why, Ant. Maybe that's why. I can't stand watching fools like Cowherd. Yeah, I see. I just said it.
Yeah, I don't watch it. I don't watch Colin Cowherd at all. I wouldn't even have known about this if it wasn't everywhere on Twitter.
When I had Sirius XM, I would listen to his radio show way back in the day. A long time. Been a long time since then. Brad Jones going, really... are in the dead zone before training camp, Trey's arm fatigue, and now Skip and Sharp are doing a 12-minute segment on Rodgers' new tattoo.
That's news to me. I didn't know Rodgers had a tattoo.
I'm going to have to pull this
I
up.
had no idea that he got a tattoo.
I'm going to have to pull this up.
Wow, that's interesting.
Is it to commemorate his
Look,
cleanse?
It's the number one search, too.
Is it in regards to his cleanse? Is that what it does? Aaron Rodgers is definitely a Detroit Lions fan. Oh, my goodness gracious.
What did he get? A Lions tattoo?
Oh my God! If he got a Lions tattoo,
or a lion tattoo,
I will.
I'm so interested in this tattoo now. Who knew?
What is this thing?
I'm hoping somebody will say it in the chat.
It's a pair of lions and an eye overlooking the entire piece. Okay, I mean we're pulling this up here to look live at it. Here, chat. What in the absolute world?
Okay, I think it's very intricate.
It's very well done.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
I saw it.
It's a lot going on there.
I've saw it, and now I want to unsee it.
It is intricate.
Yeah. All right. Well,
are those constellations at the top? Is this supposed to be like the Illuminati symbol inverted?
I don't know. I don't even know what the.
Is this the Eye of Agamotto?
I don't know.
Is he secretly Doctor Strange's pupil? What is happening?
I don't know.
A-Rod. A-Rod, why? Why would you do this? Make it make sense, chat.
And
make
Paul,
it make sense.
Paul has a question here. I've heard a couple of different things. Do we have a date when training camp does start? Yeah, so the rookies are going to be showing up on the 25th of July, and on the 26th, the veterans are going to be showing up. So that's when camp is going to start. Now, the 49ers haven't released the training camp dates yet, so we have nothing official about when those dates are going to be or when those practices are going to be open. So when that happens, I'm sure that'll be something that we can actually talk about. But right now, there's nothing, and I've definitely been waiting. I even emailed them. Did not get a great response. So
yikes.
Thanks a lot, 49ers.
Way to go. We just wanted some info and some intel. You could be nice about it. My goodness gracious me. Mr. Corey, better season Hufanga or Banks?
Ooh.
I'm going to say Banks.
Oh, I like that.
He's got Trent Williams next to him.
Yeah, I'm going with Hufanga. Okay. I think Hufanga is going to come on the scene a little bit. And I think him just being surrounded by such a good cornerback group now, and of course having Jimmy Ward, I think he could do it. But I wouldn't be shocked if we don't talk about both those guys having a really good season.
It's true. I would not be surprised by that at all. If we end up talking about both gentlemen having breakout years like that and breakout campaigns, it would make sense. It would 100% make sense if that were the case. And apparently Jerry Rice has also made comments about Trey Lance and being successful in 2022. So look at that. Everyone weighing in on Trey. Everyone weighing in on different situations here. And look, I think this is going to be a very interesting season. That is for sure. Rich Hidalgo, how you doing, my guy? He said, "What's up, fam?" Great one here. Tarvarius Moore breakout season. Our defense is going to be top 3. So there you go. Someone feeling like Tarvarius Moore is going to step up in a big way.
I like that. Why not? I think that's a training camp battle, and I think some people aren't willing to give it to Hufanga. I'm not saying Hufanga is going to outright win it. I just think Hufanga is definitely the leader in the clubhouse. Just all the conversations that we've heard from D'Amico and things. But I do think we're actually going to see both of them during the season. And kind of a split role. I think Hufanga will get the most snaps, maybe like Jaquiski Tart, and then Tarvarius Moore getting like around 40%, 35-40% of the snaps.
That's fair. That's definitely faer. I thought everyone will show up on the 26th, including rookies, said Brad Jones. I think that was the projected date, but I don't know if it's confirmed or not.
Yeah, no, I heard the 25th for rookies, the 26th for veterans. It could be to a 26 overall. Things are changing and are fluid, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's when it's going to happen, and we know that training camp will happen right around then. And then it's August 12th and is the first preseason game, so they're going to have 2 weeks of practice before preseason games start. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
It's going to be really exciting. Mr. Corey, bigger disappointment, Kinlaw or McGlinchey? Neither, Mr. Corey.
Yeah.
Neither. You're going to be the only one that's going to be disappointed because neither guy's going to let you down this year. I have faith. that both guys are going to be healthy and have put together good seasons.
I have a feeling that if McGlinchey even made the Pro Bowl, Mr. Corey would be let down by that performance.
That's probably
just teasing, man.
If he pulled another 2019 season 8 where he graded out as the second best run blocking tackle in all of football behind only Trent Williams, Mr. Corey would still be upset.
I think McGlinchey was having a pretty good year. I think he was. So
he wasn't having a bad year.
Yeah, he wasn't having a bad year for injury. So I'm curious what happens. He had finally gotten back to that weight. Everyone's kind of thinking about 2020 where he wasn't able to anchor because he had lost so much weight. They definitely remedied that. I think if he wouldn't have got hurt, the 49ers definitely could have used him in the playoffs. That would have been big.
It's true. Thanks, Alex. You're welcome, Mr. Corey. That's what I'm here for, man. That's what I'm here for. Itchy, do we have a tentative date for when Jimmy G is no longer on the team?
Sometime in 2022/2023. I don't think there's anything for sure about it.
Look, I'm going to go bold, Ant, and say between week 1 and the trade deadline.
Okay, so you think he's going to be on the roster?
I think he might.
Interesting. Okay, you heard it here first.
I don't know why, but I just get that feeling.
Yeah.
Deep down in my loins. Without giving up run defenses, I do believe Kinlaw could have 5.5 sacks this year. 5.5. Not 6. I didn't want to put more sacks on for you there, for you, Paul. Sacks this year mainly because who do you double team? That is very true, especially if it's an early down situation and Kinlaw's healthy and firing off the ball, Ant. You're going to spend a lot of time, you would imagine, on Armstead and Bosa.
Yeah, that's where his sacks are going to come in early down situations because when he gets to third down, he's probably going to be off the field and they're going to be having one of these edge rushers out there, getting it done. So I think that Kinlaw could have one of those seasons. And if he plays all 17 games, 5.5 sacks is realistic.
Very true. Jawan Jennings will step up big time, caught fire the last couple of games and the playoffs, says Rich.
Yeah, I like Juwan Jennings. I think everyone's going to be happy with what he does this year. He's one of the most aggressive players and physical blockers the 49ers have. I think he's going to be used a lot more when the 49ers want a George Kittle / Juwan Jennings style of blocking scheme. So 3 wide receivers with George Kittle on the field, I think it's something the Niners are going to trend towards.
True. It definitely could be the case, man. He's carved himself out a huge role in San Francisco.
Yeah.
He really has. He went from a guy that, didn't know what he was going to be on the roster. He was the last wide receiver, is what we kept telling ourselves last year. He was the last wide receiver that were to make the roster, even though, Hurts slid on being, barely healthy. And he went from the last guy in the room to easily the third guy on the field and the guy that you wanted on the field in most situations.
Yeah.
The blocking and everything else that he does in this offense is phenomenal. Michael Humphrey, who is the undrafted free agent that makes the roster?
I don't think there's going to be an undrafted free agent that makes this roster. I think this roster is too deep. I don't think there's a guy that can come up there and get the job. I think there's some notable guys to watch, that could end up making an impact, during the season because they start on the practice squad and then end up coming up to the main roster, and maybe that's how they get it done. But it's going to be difficult for anyone to make this roster because roster is absolutely stacked. There's not very many positions actually open for competition, and 18 potentially that are open for competition out of 53. That's not a lot.
No, it's really not. It's really not. Mr. Corey, bigger surprise, Jordan, and I know you meant Mason, or Samuel Womack this upcoming season. I think Jordan Mason is just about a year away from being able to be a breakout guy for San Francisco or make this roster. It's going to be very difficult in that room. It's going to be hard for Samuel Womack, but you drafted him, man. You got to think he's got an inside track to be the bigger surprise, make this roster, and maybe have a role.
The problem with both of them is they're going into rooms that are absolutely stacked. I mean, Jordan Mason's going to be in a room that has a lot of veterans where we're talking about a guy who's been a part of the team for a couple of years now, JaMychal Hasty, that's on the bubble. True. And that's going to be tough. But I think Jordan Mason will be a part of the 49ers if they can work it out. I think they'll probably like to get him to the practice squad where they could end up keeping him. And then at some point, he's probably going to have to come up. Somebody's going to get hurt. The 49ers running backs just can't stay healthy continuously. Nope. That's why it's nice to have a rotation. With Samuel Womack, I mean, you talk about an absolutely loaded room. There's so many guys that are loaded. He's going to be in a competition with Yammer Lenore, and also Dante Johnson,
Darquez Denard.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys there. So I think it's going to be one of those things where I think they want to keep Womack. Could Womack staying mean the eventual release of De'Amari Lenore? That could happen.
It's true. It really could. It's going to be hard to pin down who exactly does what in that cornerback room and who they actually keep for what roles. Maybe they think they could sneak Demo to the practice squad. Maybe they feel like they could sneak Womack to the practice squad. Maybe he comes down with a mysterious injury towards the end of camp and they're able to put him on a PUP list or the IR and stash him away.
They might have to, yeah.
I mean, I won't be shocked if we see a couple of these late round draft picks, come down with mysterious injuries towards the end of training camp. It won't surprise me in the slightest.
I think because we've seen it happen before, 100%. It definitely won't surprise me.
It's true. It really is. Mr. Corey, can anyone really believe that Jake Brendel and Darquez Denard are going to be starters?
I think you have to when it comes to the 49ers.
At least with Jake Brendel.
Well, I mean,
there's no really other options.
No, I mean, and there were people before that were always wondering, well, we can't actually see Daniel Brunskill as a starter someday, right? Daniel Brunskill's a starter. I mean, this is what happens. Emmanuel Mosley was an undrafted free agent. We can't possibly see Emmanuel Mosley starting someday. Emmanuel Mosley is a starter. I think it does happen sometimes. So is it out of the question? No. And Darquez Denard was a first-round pick. Talent-wise, this guy can handle business. I think him moving to the slot is something that's going to be interesting to watch because he didn't do it a lot in his career. He's been primarily an outside guy. So I think he could do it. It's interesting.
It is. It's extremely interesting. So look, we'll see. I can believe that either one of those guys could be starters. I would prefer if someone beat him out personally, but I don't know who's going to beat out Jake Brendel, to be honest with you. And Alex Mack is not walking through that door. So I don't know. Brad Jones, you guys hear that they want to put a roof on Soldier Field to stop the Bears from moving to Arlington?
Yeah, I did see that. I seen that the mayor's kind of pitching that as well. Sure. Okay. But I mean, this is
isn't the problem of the stadium is just old?
Yeah.
And they want a new stadium?
Well,
how does putting a roof solve that problem other than inclement from the weather? Like, it keeps you out of the cold.
Yeah, I mean, there was one time a mayoral candidate from our city, Alex, that wanted to put a dome on the Great Bowl. So this is something that mayors do. You know, it's kind of like in school.
This would solve all of the problems. You just put a dome on top of it, Ant.
Yeah, free snacks in class every day. Like, that's just what happens. Now, Brad Jones did ask earlier, how do you guys feel about Hassan Ridgeway? I think he might be underrated this season. Spoke to an Eagles fan. His big issue is staying healthy.
He doesn't have to stay healthy very long with us, and it's not because we don't need him we need him on the football field. It'd be great to have him on the football field, but he's in a massive rotation. So he doesn't have to be 100%. An 80% version of Hassan Ridgeway during the season is going to be A-OK too, Ant, because he's just going to be able to will himself to get that extra 20% out of himself on a handful of snaps. So the good news is he's playing in a rotation with a very deep group. And the Niners training staff has done a much better job the last few years of keeping guys on the field and healthy.
Yeah, I think, when it comes to Ridgeway, but he didn't stay healthy all the time. But when he was healthy, boy, was he good.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things the 49ers are looking for. They're looking for a guy that can come in, and play 15 to 20% of snaps and really get a nice rotation going as a second unit guy. You want Kinlaw on the field. You want one of these edge rushers, in certain situations. But what Ridgeway is there to do is when Kinlaw's tired, he can go in and stop the run.
True.
And I think that's what you're really looking for. So I like the Hassan Ridgeway. I think he's almost as close as you can get to a lock to make this roster. I think he's going to make it. Hopefully he stays healthy, because I do think he'd be a big upgrade from what we got from Kentavious Street last year.
Very, very true, Ant. Extremely true. Big Pop, anybody got an over-under on how many times Dante Johnson's will be released and re-signed?
I'm gonna go with
3.5.
Yeah, I think 3.5 is fair, because I honestly think it could be over. I think this could be one of those years.
I'll go under.
Where he goes back and forth, but they have a very talented secondary. I think it's going to be hard for him. He just has so much versatility. I mean, we kind of
an injury in the safety or cornerback room could get Dante Johnson called up.
Yeah, and Luke was talking in the comment section just yesterday about the fact he believes that they could actually keep Dante Johnson to play the fourth safety and a cornerback. It's interesting.
Oh, so free up some more space for another defensive line?
You could, or you can just have an extra secondary player.
It's true.
You could have a seventh cornerback / it could be a way to keep a lot of those other guys. But that means you're moving on from a Tarvarius Moore or a George Odom. I don't think the Niners are going to be willing to do that.
George Odom. Yeah, there's no way it's George Odom. It'd have to be Tarvarius Moore.
Yeah.
It would have to be. I couldn't see it being anyone else. Big Papa going with Darqueze Dennard was a first-round pick, and this is not wrong. He was a first-round pick. Brad saying unless Nick Sakel tears it up in camp, it's going to be Brendel as the center. Rich saying Santa Clara needs to put a half dome on. It's too hot out there. I mean,
it does get hot at certain parts of the stadium. I mean, it's not nice. But
day games when you enter in, you need to sit on. Oh man, rises in the east west. Oh man.
That's
never south end of the stadium. South end of the stadium. I had to do some serious never eat sour wheat there. South end of the stadium during morning games, and afternoon games, you sit on the opposite side. You don't sit on the north. You sit on the south side.
Yeah, and Mr. Corey says the difference between Mosley and Brunskill is that they were rookie and third-year guys, respectively. Okay. Brendel is 29 and has 3 career starts. Yeah, you're right. I mean, and Brendel would definitely be getting it late in his career. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing I've ever heard of, but the 49ers have to feel some sort of comfort, or why wouldn't they be just knocking or kicking down the door of J.C. Treader, or making other moves?
They honestly could be, and we just don't know about it because the Niners also don't leak. So, I mean, they could be right now, have kicked down the door of Treader's place already and have tied him down and sign with San Francisco, and they're trying to get it done. I mean, that very well could be the case.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, they could, and something could still happen. I know a lot of people are saying now that the Treader thing's not happening, but I still keep a tiny bit of, percentage that it could, for the mere fact that there is unanswered questions at the center position.
It's not solidified.
Yeah.
It's not solidified. Anyone who feels it is solidified, I don't know what you could have seen or have known or have watched of Brendel that makes you go, set, solid, done. I'm not there.
Yeah, and Mr. Corey said he'd rather see me start at center than Brendel. Here's the problem. I'm the size of Poe, but I don't move that good. So you already have Poe. Why not have Poe?
I mean, you make a great point.
Yeah.
You don't move bad, though. You don't move bad.
I move worse than I used to.
I mean, that's age, though.
Even at my athletic peak, I was still slower than Jason Poe.
Jason Poe.
Not by a lot, but I was still slower.
Still freak. He's a freak.
He's impressive.
He is.
I worry about my short arms being able to block, just like I worry about the length of Poe a little bit.
That's what I'm thinking. D-line. D-line sounds glorious for that, man. John Neville's here. San Francisco. Speaking in terms of the video title.
Yeah.
Jimmy will be the week 1 starter for our 49ers. Don't say I didn't warn you. Oh, my Lord. It's bold.
I love when John comes through with something like that. I love the boldness. Well done, San Francisco.
Look, I am not going to say that this is outlandish. It's not outlandish. I just don't see a world in which Trey Lance, with all the time he's had to work this offseason, isn't going to elevate past Jimmy, who has not been able to work on anything. He's been recovering from surgery. He's probably working on lower half strength and things of that nature. He's not been able to hone his game. He's going to be rusty coming into the season.
Yeah, I don't see Jimmy being quarterback 1. I've thought from the beginning that it was going to be Trey in year 2. I still think it's going to be Trey, but Jimmy being a part of this roster is becoming a little bit more realistic to think about at this point.
It is. It definitely is. Give Ant a contract and time in the gym. Starting center real quick, Ant.
I might need a lot of time in the gym.
I don't know. Listen, they give you a contract, you have lots of money, and then you can hire one of those fancy trainers that are doing all those fancy things, and then you can do fancy stuff and get right real quick.
That's true. We got one just up the road. I could go see him, see how it's going. The factory. Get in there, get ready to roll.
Get ready to roll with the factory.
I got to work on my hand placement a little bit. Work on my kick slide.
A little bit of the kick slide. Make sure you get that first strike going.
That's right.
You got to find out.
And then what's my reward? I get to look at Javon Kinlaw and Eric Armstead. Nope, I just retired. Thanks. I retired. That
was a scary one. Not the eventual realization that Aaron Donald would be lining up.
I'm worried about Kinlaw.
That's true. Kinlaw's huge.
Kinlaw's a massive man. No, and Aaron Donald will just throw me. By the way,
there's no thing.
Yeah.
This is why I don't understand the Brunskill situation, dude. I've seen Aaron Donald just absolutely manhandle people.
Yeah.
And I've seen Brunskill get manhandled, and it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
And he's gonna get eaten alive. And then he just stands him up.
Yeah.
Just stands him up. I don't get it. I think a handshake deal is in place with Treader. I can't believe the 49ers want to break in the biggest investment in franchise history with a guy with 3 career starts.
I think we also have to think at it, because I'm not against what Mr. Corey is saying, but what if Jake Brendel is actually good? Like, what if last year they saw something in him when he was backing up Alex Mack, and they're like, you know what? Look at the way he's handling our defensive linemen. Like, he's pretty good. Is there any chance that that's the case?
How did 31 other teams miss it?
I don't know. I mean, right? The right system, the apple of your eye. How did everyone miss Raheem Mostert?
That's true. It's true. It's 100% possible, Ant.
Yeah. Gonna have to dive into the Brendel film.
Oh, this is so hard.
Coming next week, why Jake Brendel's that guy?
Maybe. And got that technique. Muscle memory going to come back real quick also.
Technique.
Brad Jones not trying to cause beef between you and Chapman, but what have you thought of his roster cut down breakdown?
You're talking about the 90-man?
I think he's talking about the 90-man.
Yeah, you know what? I've been watching it. So to be honest with you, I haven't taken into full account of like who he's cutting and who he's not.
Sure.
We'll be putting out our predictions closer to training camp, like our pre-training camp 53-man, and then I think we could look at what he did and who he kept. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're gonna have some disagreements on a few players.
There'll be disagreements. There has to be disagreements because everyone views the roster slightly different, and the players.
Yeah, that's the truth.
I mean, I remember watching his breakdown of individual players and seeing where he had Tabor Pepper and some of these other guys. It's like, you can't put them that low. Mm-hmm. They can't be your 53rd, 52nd, 54th best players.
Oh, no, he's doing impact on the 2022 season.
Oh, I know. I know that. But I remember just watching those and being like, I get what you're doing because they're going to make the roster at those spots. John, those guys belong in the 80s. Get them out of here. Get them down there.
Wow.
You can't have Mitch Wishnowsky out there covering in space and good things happen.
Does that mean we need to do our own 1 through 90? Not like break down every player, but just rank the 49ers 1 through 90.
Maybe.
Wow, that's a long episode. I'm gonna have to break it up in increments.
I might have to. That might be a 3 or 4 parter, folks. That might be a 3 or 4.
You can tell John just grinding through it right now.
He is, man.
We're just gonna keep counting them down.
I remember talking with him, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm going with those. It's a process. It is a process. That is for sure."
Yeah.
As scrappy as the Dolphins' O-line has been for a decade, and Brendel was there and couldn't start. LOL.
Yeah, it depends on regime, though, right?
Scheme,
regime. That's a lot of it. I mean, sometimes you go to a different situation, and that's the thing is Chris Forster was there. Kyle Shanahan trusts Chris Forster. Remember, and it was everyone in the 49ers faithful, I think. Tom Compton. Why would the 49ers have Tom Compton still on the roster over Colt McKivitz? Tom Compton was with Kyle Shanahan when they drafted. Chris Forster was with Tom, and Tom Compton were together with Kyle Shanahan when they drafted him. So there he was. So maybe he's just one of Forster's guys. Maybe they work. Who knows?
That's possible. It's very, very, very possible. And the 49ers system is not the easiest to learn, says Big Papa. Matt Burgos goes, in my opinion, the 49ers system is not as complicated as most people think. Daddy Shanahan modernized it all. It's more about blocking precision and discipline and reading the blocks.
Yeah, I think it's very complex in the fact that there's a lot to it, right? And the way that they've said, I think there's a lot more for like a quarterback or a center to learn in Kyle Shanahan's system than maybe other players. Fair. I think it's complex in areas, and then also I think the terminology at times, just getting to know it. If you're coming from another system, it could be like Greek as you're trying to learn it. So you're figuring out, okay, this term means the same thing I learned in another system. Not every system is the same. Finding out the similarities makes it easier, but yeah, it's difficult. It's like learning another language out there. So I think that these NFL players are well equipped to handle it. They've got people to help them, whether it's coaches and other players. They're going to make sure they learn it. But I mean, I've heard people say how complex it is. I think it's complex enough that Matt Ryan took until year 2 to get the system down.
That's very true. So we'll see. We'll see if this group can put it together this year with the guys that they have. All these battles will come down to the wire. A lot of great players will be lost to other teams. That might be the case, though, with a lot of teams. There was a lot of talent that came out in this draft, and there's going to be a lot of tough decisions and cutdowns for 31 other teams as well as San Francisco. So there could be a lot of names out there that surprise some people come the actual, week 1 of the regular season.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of things that are going to happen. I'm interested to see what happens just in this span. I know it's supposed to be a dead period, but this span of time from now until training camp, there's going to be some stuff that happen. Oh, yeah. Probably some Jimmy G news. Yeah. Probably some Dee Ford news. Yeah. And all the while, probably...
I imagine a Mike McGlinchey update at some point.
And more arm fatigue.
Dang arm fatigue.
Yeah.
I don't know. If Brendel is the guy, I'm good with it. I hope he's a late. He's hoping if he's a late bloomer, he would absolutely love it. He'd be good with it. That's good there, Mr. Corey. Alex Faulkner, what's up, guys? Who are the wide receivers that make the final roster? For sure, Debo. For sure, Ayuk. For sure, Juwan Jennings. For sure, Danny Gray, and for sure, Ray-Ray McCloud.
Yeah, I think that's the 5.
There you go.
I think it's pretty clear this year.
I don't think there's a competition. There's a battle. I don't think there's anything to watch. Barring someone getting hurt.
Yeah, I think it's those 5 guys. I think the 49ers have it solidified. I think they want to have only 5 wide receivers in this room. I think this is one of the ones that's the clearest I think I've ever seen the wide receiver position.
That's very accurate. Matt Burgos, that is true. I think understanding the offense is a great filter for limiting your roster. Makes difficult cuts a little bit easier. If you got 2 guys, right, similar skill sets, similar things that they add to the table, one guy gets what you're trying to do and gets the philosophy, and one guy is running around like a chicken with his head cut off and is occasionally being in the right spot, then yeah, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, it's more important to be in the right spot than to be able to do it better than the other guy. Because if you're not in the right spot, but you can do it better, it doesn't help. Because, that's one of the things. Understanding what you're doing on the field is a big thing.
And what your role is.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys who don't understand their role, and so they try to do somebody else's job for them.
Or don't like their role.
Yeah.
Right? And are like trying to show, well, no, you can make my role I can do these things. And it's like, no, I mean, listen, yes, you can. That's great, but I don't need that right now.
Yeah.
I need this. Can you do this for me? This is what makes you useful to us. Do these things. Yeah, it is interesting. Arm fatigue. Don't see Kyle having Trey throw more than 30 times a game. I will be shocked, Rich. Shocked. If there's a single game before like week 10 where Trey throws more than about 32 passes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I'll be stunned.
I think I want to look at the matchups and see what they have to do. I think that would be interesting. I don't think that's something that Kyle Shanahan is coming into the game to do. I think the goal is to run the ball over 30 times, not exactly to throw it 30 times plus, but you do what you got to do to win the game. So I'm curious what happens, if a team just comes in and loads up the box and says, all right, Trey beat me. They're going to make Trey go out there and prove that he can go ahead and throw it 30 plus times and win a football game. We'll see if somebody's willing to do that.
We'll see. I don't know if there'd be a bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see if that pays off for him. Michael Humphrey, do you guys think Ebukam, Jackson, or other DNs can be as explosive as pre-neck back Dee Ford?
You know what? They have the potential. As far as athleticism, Samson Ebukam and Kamoko Ture are tremendously athletic. And in fact, Jordan Willis as well. All those guys are 4'5" athletes. I mean, these guys have tremendous ability. They have good first steps. Kamoko Ture's first step is great. I think Ebukam's going to come into the system nice, but there's still no one that can get off on the first step like Dee Ford. So I think they'll be sufficient, but I don't know about coming up to the levels of Dee Ford. Dee Ford was absolutely fantastic, especially at the later part of Kansas City and then early San Francisco.
Look, he was a Pro Bowl caliber player and who had all pro capabilities. He had all pro ability to be one of the best in the league at his position, and he just got hurt. So I don't know if we have that guy yet, but we do have guys who are getting closer to that, and that's great for us. Big Papa, Alex, I think you have to be ready for a diversified offense. We have different skill traits. Listen, I agree with you, Big Papa, but I've been ready for a diversified offense that's been opening up and trying to push vertically for quite some time now during the Kyle Shanahan era, and it hasn't happened. In fact, it hasn't happened even the pre-Kyle Shanahan era, Ant, when you had Alex Smith at the helm. You got a little tease and taste of it with Colin Kaepernick, a little bit, but not as much as I think people realize. Like, there was some nice stuff, but it wasn't all the time ready. I've been waiting for the diversified offense and the deep shots and the big ball, and it just hasn't come. So until Kyle Shanahan proves me wrong and shows me something that I haven't seen before, I'm going to bank on more of the same, just executed differently.
I think that there's two reasons to believe they could be trending in that direction.
Correct.
Number one, Trey Lance.
Absolutely.
Finally, a quarterback that can execute the downfield throw. Number two, Danny Gray and Ray McLeod are guys that can now take the top off the defense, who can do it at a high level. It's not one of these guys that they've brought in that was at the end of their career like Travis Benjamin or a guy like Goodwin, who's mainly a track guy. This is a legit wide receiver in Danny Gray. I think those are going to help, but they're going to have to develop it and prove it. And I think they still want to run the football more. That's what Kyle Shanahan does. That's what Mike Shanahan did. You run the football, you live off the play action pass. So I think we can see some big plays from Trey Lance, but I don't think they want that to be the norm. I don't think they want it to be 30 plus throws. I think they want it to be, 18 to 22 with some big shots down the field.
Very true. Matt just said, I see Trey thrown a little over 30 passes in a few games early in the season, assuming we could, if the wide receiving core stays healthy. I like Trey's deep ball. If he's anything like he was at North Dakota, 100%. That deep ball was phenomenal at North Dakota. It was great in his pro day. Wonderful in training camp last year.
So good at training camp. Yeah,
it looked really good. It looked better than
I went in with zero expectations, and the first time I saw him throw, I was like, jaw dropped. And the second time he threw, I was like, okay, this dude's one of the best deep ball throwers I've seen in person in a long time.
Absolutely. Who do you guys think is an outside looking in D lineman? He thinks for sure Kevin Givens is one of them. That's Brad Jones. I think another one, it would be another D lineman, Kerry Hyder.
Yeah, Kerry Hyder could be one of those guys. I think he's going to have some versatility to play inside and outside.
Yep.
If the 49ers keep 7 edge rushers, I think Kerry Hyder will make this team for sure. If they decide they need to keep another interior guy, that would mean that Kerry Hyder could be on the bubble. What Brad is saying, too, about Givens, I think Givens and Maurice Hurst are in an absolute battle. Mm-hmm. The loser of that is on the outside looking in.
Yep.
So, if you haven't watched our position battle video, go watch that, because we actually talk about those two guys and wonder, with all the edge rushers, does that mean Givens has the best opportunity because he's a better, 2-down player as far as stopping the run? Possibly. Or is it Maurice Hurst who can play all 3 downs? Does that give him the edge? I think Givens could be on the outside looking in if Maurice Hurst stays healthy and plays up to the level we saw at the beginning of training camp, because that's about the only time he was healthy all year.
And he was dominant.
He was good.
He was dominant.
Yeah, he was good.
He was really good. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be very interesting. But TCC, we got more content coming your way all week long, so make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss videos when they go live, unless YouTube falls asleep and doesn't notify you. And that does happen sometimes. And then you can scream at YouTube. You can leave them Not nice. Actually, don't do that. They're doing their best. I believe that they are doing their best. But you hit that like button, you hit that notification bell, you will be notified when videos go live. And that way they don't miss more conversations. They don't miss more topics and more things being discussed. And all the 49ers news that is to come.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot. And Brad Jones said, I think Hyder is the ardent key of this season. Edge rusher. They push in on pass rush on third downs.
Possible.
Here's the good news, Brad. We have a video coming out about the key role on Sunday. So if you want to check that out, go check that out on Sunday. It's a good video. We're going to be talking about the edge rushers and who fits that ardent key role.
Man, that's interesting. I can't believe that. I can't believe that that's there. I can't believe we did that. Somebody needs to fire the whole staff at PFF and CBS. What are those guys smoking? Ranked us 18th. You are correct.
Yeah, of the rankings, I think we did get. I think PFF had us at 13, and then CBS had us at 18. It's completely shocking. I didn't understand it at all.
It's a little interesting. It is a little interesting. But look, we got more content coming your way. You're not going to want to miss it. Make sure you're subscribed for all of it. And another nice Q&A. The chat on fire again. Some great comments, some good laughs. Looking forward to seeing what chat has in store for us in the next episode, in the next video. I'm looking forward to next week and more conversations.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of cool stuff coming up. We're getting close to training camp. Once training camp gets here, everything is it ramps up because all the news is going to come at you quick and heavy, and I think it's going to be fun. So hopefully everyone joins us all week long. Let us know what you think about the videos that come out over the weekend. We'll see everyone again on Monday for a nice live stream.
That's true. Mr. Corey Garoppolo released, traded, and Treader signed is the 49ers news next. Mr. Corey putting it out there into the world. We'll see if it comes true next week. You got plenty of videos the rest of this week, a live Monday. And until the next one, Cutback Crew and the Faithful, stay safe.
Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.
Later, TCC.